Good evening, YTPC. This is Izzy, the happy-go-lucky piper, coming to you all on a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday evening. Smoking this amazing Canadian pipe. Beautiful, beautiful pipe. That was gifted to me by Brian, the koala piper. And inside, I'm just finishing a little bit of Satliff custard, vanilla custard. Wanted an easy smoke this evening. A lovely cup of cherry tea, L'chaim, special seasons this time. Found a box of tea at the back of the closet. Lucky me. My wife is very fond of the cherry tea. Celestial Seasons, when I go to the States, always bring back a few boxes. Hope all is well. This evening I'd like to do a Faith Chat Friday via to Mike, the keynote piper. A little bit of tobacco in my mouth. Mike, I really enjoyed your video, all your videos. I've been watching you for about 4 or 5 years. I was privileged a year or so ago, year and a half ago, to win a pipe that you made for the Danny Shaw giveaway, of Danny Shaw blessed memory. That beautiful corn cob that you altered and added the stem with a lot of very nice work. That's usually my Latakia pipe, but tonight I was going to smoke it just in your honor, but I wasn't in the mood for Latakia, so you have to excuse me, Mike. I really felt compelled to make a little video. I tried a few times already. Last night, baby Happy woke up in the middle and came downstairs. I had a long distance phone call. A friend popped in, then my son-in-law popped in. Every time I started, I stopped, so it was very choppy, and I decided it wasn't meant to be. Let's do it another time. A little bit of disclaimer here. I'm not really, hope I'm not preaching to anybody. It's a pipe chat among friends, among believers, and some of us are non-believers. So all be taken in good spirit and respect and love. So Mike really asked the big question, why do we believe in God? Well, the easy answer I could say, well, I'm a rabbi and I'm supposed to believe in God. I was educated that way, but that's not enough. Faith is a challenge. As a rabbi, I see myself many times as a kind of a faith healer. People come and they tell me their sorrows and their woes. Sometimes we smile, sometimes we cry together, depending on the circumstances. But all of us are challenged in faith. Faith isn't something that can be taken for granted. It's true that many religious people, we try to educate our children to go in a certain pathway, but at some stage in life, either the child is interested or not interested. Well, we believe that all good things always will turn out good in the end, and all good lessons learned and taught will always influence the person. But education isn't enough. The older we become, I think, the greater sometimes our challenges in life become. Isaiah the prophet put it beautifully in chapter 45, verse 15. Behold, you are a God who is hidden. In Hebrew, Achein ata kela mistater. God isn't visible. God sometimes gives us rabbis and priests and religious leaders a hard time. Not only Do we not see God many times? Terrible things happen and people ask, where is God? And really, we don't always have the answers. I think would be arrogant. The Prophet also says, my thoughts onto your thoughts. In the Jewish tradition, when we have a day of fasting and repentance, we read the Prophet who says those very words. Your thoughts are not my thoughts. In other words, we never really fully understand God, but we're meant to try. We're meant to try and connect. I think it's very important for us, before we talk about faith, to realize the challenges of faith. Also, when we read the Bible, we see that every one of those characters were greatly challenged. If it was Adam and Eve, Garden of Eden, with God, the Garden of Eden, the snake. Abraham was challenged, told to come to the promised land. There was a famine. He goes down to Egypt. His wife is taken away from him. For many, many years they didn't have children. Isaac was blind. Jacob had two sons that fell out. Isaac had two sons that fell out. Jacob had a whole story with Joseph and the brothers. Moses also didn't have an easy life. The Jewish people came out of Egypt after all the plagues and the whole story, which I'm sure everybody knows. And the sea splits, and the Israelites think that's all over. And lo and behold, the Egyptians running after them. All these stories really illustrate in our lives that faith is not taken for granted. Faith is something that needs to be developed. It's a kind of a muscle, like running. It's something that's acquired within time. And it demands a lot of work to fully believe. That's like my introduction really to the challenges I think all of us have with faith. Now I'd like to take it a little bit on a personal level. I heard some knocking outside. Sorry about that, folks. Faith is a difficult thing. And I think the more one studies, and the older and the wiser we become, faith doesn't become any easier. I think we have good days, and we have days that are very, very difficult. A couple of years ago, I went through something that was very difficult. Everything's okay now. Maybe one time I'll talk about it, and I really felt for the first time in my life, my faith is being really, really shook to the core. So, I'm familiar with struggles in faith. That might come as a shock to you. You're not expecting to hear that from a rabbi, or Hasidic rabbi even. Let me talk about my faith. I grew up in an Orthodox family. I was educated in Jewish schools. But what really influenced my faith the most was one of my rabbis, one of my teachers, lived by an example of faith. And his rabbi, basically, that I was inspired, and I met. And being in the presence of a very, very great person kind of strengthens your faith. I don't have to explain it. It's like, you meet somebody who's very happy in the morning, kind of gives you a smile, and your whole day is a good day. You meet someone with a sour face, and it kind of puts you off, the whole day kind of like have this kind of sour feeling. So teachers, I think, are very important, and rabbis and parents, as you know, I'm a teacher. I I think we to show our faith in our spouses, in our children, in our friends, even the YTPC. Faith is something that needs to be seen in everything. I think one of the problems people have with faith is that we're so used to living in a world where everything's instant and everything is really understandable, and how something that you don't understand, something greater than you, is that's really faith. To believe in a friend that's let you down, or to make up with someone who's wronged you, that kind of demands a lot of faith. On a personal level, what strengthens my faith in God is the fact that I'm not really sure how to put this across, so just bear with me, folks. It's a pipe chat. I think I once mentioned this many years ago, one of my early videos, that my mother should be well. She's now celebrating 80th year, was a Holocaust survivor. She was one of the Mengele twins. The fact that she survived with a handful of other children, the fact that she had me, that itself was a great miracle. I always wonder what her family, her parents, her grandparents, her cousins, her and her sister, because Mengele always kept the twins, always kept both. On one he experimented, the other one he kept as a backup. I wonder what they would say, the thought of their grandchildren living in the Holy Land 70 years ago, 80 years ago, 90 years ago, whoever thought. That gives me faith. You know, the Jewish people for thousands of years have prayed to live in the land of Israel. When we pray, we face Jerusalem. I'm very careful not to get into the political aspects of things, and we don't want to upset anyone. And just for the record, I do have some Arab friends, and we respect each other greatly. For the most part, they don't smoke pipe. They smoke Nagila. Didn't really grab me, but they've seen me a few times with a pipe, and we've chatted a bit. So it's not really what is like stereotyped in the media, you know. Like with all peoples, it's good, or not so good. That's what gives me faith in God. When we look at the whole picture, we see how blessed we are in our lives. Every one of us have ups and downs and downs and ups. I think it was Simon, who said that, like a jigsaw puzzle, many times just look at one piece. If we can try and look at the whole puzzle, these things are very, very different. We get a complete different perspective on what's happening. I think the fact that the Jewish people is here today, after all we've been through, is a great miracle. And I think miracles is really what strengthens our faith. As I said, I went to yeshiva, at a very, very special, the head rabbi of the yeshiva, a very spiritual person, and a person very down to earth. A lot of my faith, I think, I received from him. In our yeshiva being Hasidim, you know, we have a grand rabbi, I had a great privilege to be in New York for the month of the holidays by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Grand Rabbi of Lubavitch, who passed away 20 years ago. Just to see him pray. He spoke to me for a few minutes, he spoke to different people, we had different opportunities where he speaks to different people, just for a few moments, a few seconds even. But to see this person, the way he speaks, the way he acts, the whole atmosphere around him was an atmosphere of faith. And even though he's passed away over 20 years ago, and he's buried in the Queen's Cemetery, many Jewish people and people that aren't Jewish from all different walks of life and creeds and religions like to visit his grave and say a prayer and reconnect to God. Even after his death, he inspires faith. I very much hope that I inspire faith in my students and my friends and those among I meet. But I think the reason why I believe in God, there were a few moments in my life where I saw God. I believe that God has a great sense of humor. I think when we look back on our lives, we see that many things that we thought were terrible are really the best things that could ever happen. And God really knows what's good for us. One of the things that strengthened my faith greatly was when baby Happy was born over a year and a half ago. We very much wanted more children, but physically it wasn't possible. And the doctors kind of told us they were crazy. Even the specialist that helped us, thank God we had, before baby Happy, we had 4 children, 3 beautiful girls and a son. And lo and behold, God made it happen. I remember that night when Miss Happy gave birth in the hospital, how ecstatic the doctors, the nurses, everybody was. When usually a woman in her 47th year to give birth just like that, it was absolutely beautiful. I saw God, I think. I felt God's presence. That strengthens my faith. And I thought there's also this idea that God wants us to be challenging. I think this is part of the process. I think when you're challenging your relationship, it makes your relationship a better relationship. I know sometimes it's hard to put our finger on it, but many of us fly planes, we don't really understand how the plane works, but we know it works. It happens. I think a believer believes and is challenged, and he has good days and he has bad days. Doesn't make him any less of a believer. It's very interesting to note that in the United States, on the money is written, "In God we trust." They say everybody else pays cash, but in God we trust, that's a joke. Also, in the Constitution of the United States, it says the God of our fathers. God's very much mentioned. It's very beautiful that you have the Thanksgiving celebration in the United States. The founding fathers were religious people. I think it's their faith that brought them to the United States. I think it's the faith is what made America great. I don't believe that faith is something that should be shoved down people's throats. people have the right to choose, and they should be respected for their choices. I remember once one of my friends asked one of this great rabbi I was telling you about in my yeshiva at the medical academy, that in our yeshiva, in our school, once a week we would do communal activities. We'll visit old age homes and take out old people and do activities in schools. You know, try and do a little bit of kindness in the community. One of my friends met this old Holocaust survivor that was really, really, really bitter. Very bitter man. He was a young kid, I think 16, 17, full of beans, and it really, really depressed him. And we had this little discussion group. And he says we call the head of the yeshiva the Rosh Yeshiva. The Rosh in Hebrew means the head. So we used to call him the Rosh, the head. He was like the director of the Talmudical Academy. This young student felt he had to sort out all his problems. And this old rabbi tells him, well, he wasn't so old in those days. Today he must be going on to his 70s at least, I would say. In those days he must have been 40s. So then listen, what this person has been through. You don't have the right to judge him or even talk to him about it. He's in a different place. The rabbis tell us in the Talmud, don't judge someone until you stand in their shoes. So on one hand, we can be full of faith and have faith in others, even though sometimes they don't agree with our faith. And we shouldn't let that dampen our faith in God. Faith is a very individual thing, and it's not easy. Sometimes people think being religious is very, very easy, and being a rabbi, being a scholar, not that I am a scholar, far from being a scholar at the moment, maybe one day. It's easy, it's not easy, it has its challenges, great challenges. People seem to think that we have this toolbox and we can fix everything, and this can't be done. I have a friend who had a very difficult life, and he met one of the great rabbis I was talking about. And he started telling him all his sorrows. And he just saw the rabbi was crying. He was crying. When he looked up, he saw the rabbi was crying with him as well. And he realized that he's with him. And God is with us in the good times and the bad times. There's this little parable they tell. I've given over a few times in my classes. It could even maybe have a Christian source even. I don't know if it has a Jewish source, but it's a beautiful parable of a father and son walking along the beach. And the father says to the son, you see all these footprints over here? These are my footprints, my big footprints. You see these small footprints? These are your small footprints. Then the child says, but you know, there are times when I was alone and you only see one pair of footprints. Where are your footprints? And then the father says, when you were alone, you don't remember? I was carrying you. I was lifted you up. My faith in God has taught me that things can be difficult and we don't always have the answers. And sometimes things look very, very grim. But tomorrow the sun will shine and it'll be a new day. everything will start up again. It's interesting, I was thinking about it before making this video, that in Hebrew, the word for science is really nature, teva. Science comes from the word of knowledge, but in Hebrew it's really not, science isn't called chachma, wisdom. It's called teva, nature. There's this great question asked, what is greater, a miracle or nature? Well, for a miracle to happen, God has to change the order of the world, but the fact that God lets everything run in an orderly fashion, every day the sun comes up and sets at the end of the day, that's nature. That is a great miracle, and that strengthens my faith in God. Because at the end of the day, life goes on, faith goes on. In our religion, the faith is passed down from father to son, from rabbi to teacher. In every generation, they've been challenged in different ways. And this enriches our faith. And I think it's very, very important for us to have these conversations. It's very, very important. A lot of people that feel inadequate, they feel not significant because life has been tough to them, and they've stopped believing in God and stopped believing in themselves and in their fellow person. So that's a little bit of my take on belief in God. I also think one of the ways of strengthening our faith in God is by strengthening our faith in our fellow man. There's an old Hasidic saying that says, do a favor for someone else and God will do you a favor. Love someone else and God will love you. Be good to someone else and God will be good to you. I think faith is something we have to believe in and something we have to act. Our faith in God isn't only some kind of card that we have in our wallet. It's a kind of a club that, sorry about that, let's keep the table. It's not some kind of card that we have in our pocket. I'm a man of faith. I also think that basically we all believe in the same things. It could be that maybe in a Christian religion they have the New Testament, so they didn't accept the Old Testament, which is their thing. That's what they want to do. The Muslims have the Quran, which is their testament basically. It's like their Torah. But I think we all believe in the same things. We all want the world to be a better place. We all want to see God's blessings. And I really, really want to thank Mike for bringing this subject up. I've said this many times before, that I'm not really here to preach to people, and it's not something I think I would have spoken about regularly. After seeing Mike's video and the other content that's been put up by the various other people, I'm not going to mention because I watched quite a few of the videos and I don't want to miss anybody out. I think this is really, really beautiful. I think there is a connection to the pipe that makes us slow down and think. I'm sorry about that, folks. I just had an interruption. A nice interruption for one of my daughters. So I'm not sure what I was saying, and I want to upload this video before anything else happens. So thank you, Mike, for this great opportunity. I've seen some beautiful discussions. I think some great discussions will follow. I hope by no means I've offended anyone. Guys, let's take it easy. Let's love each other. Let's see the good in this beautiful world. Let's strengthen our faith in God. And also, let's not forget our faith in ourselves as well. We're all such beautiful people. Take care. Izzy, the Happy Go Lucky Piper checking out again.